full disclosure, I took a drink of water and this is happening and we got stuff to do. So we're moving on. I'm acknowledging and we're moving on. So now what we're gonna do is set up our sterile field for being able to do the microneedling. So what I have on my tray is I have 4x4 aesthetic wipes, 2x2 aesthetic wipes that I actually just cut up, I have a cord cover, which I'll show you how to use in a minute. I have paper towels that I've also cut up. I have tongue depressors. I have a stainless steel container that I will be putting the glide into, which is gonna be hyaluronic acid that we will talk about in a moment. This is another one of the things that if you wanna do disposable. I actually don't mind using the stainless steel because this is so easy to clean and sterilize as there's no like nooks and crannies. I then have my pin and the tip that I'm going to use. When it comes to microneedling devices, get the one that you wanna use. The best information I can give for you on them is that you wanna use one that plugs in. There's just more power behind it. A battery operated device is never going to be able to get into your tissues like a plug-in device is gonna be. The biggest thing with microneedling pens is you want them to have power behind them so they can really punch through those tissues. The other thing is that your needles your tips, should not have more than like 12 needles per tip. You will see online that you're gonna see a lot of tips that are like 25 needles, 36 needles. Here's the issue with that. They both still have the same circumference, they're both the same size, but the ones with more needles are just more tightly packed together. So what's gonna happen is if you go to microneedle with those tips, you're going to turn tissue into hamburger. It's gonna have so many puncture wounds in a tiny area that it just turns it into, frankly, ground beef. So we actually want our needles to have a certain amount of space between them. And that's why, I'm gonna use a tip today that has 9 needles. The standard is 12. When it comes to choosing the glide, if you're not using PRP, platelet-rich plasma, PRF, platelet-rich fibrin, or exosomes, I recommend making your own high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. The reason for this is that finished products are not intended to be microneedled into the tissues. They have preservatives. I've never used one and then not create more inflammation issues for the client. Also, they've done multiple studies on this, and high molecular weight hyaluronic acid is actually the best thing to microneedle into the tissues to stimulate collagen and really up the natural growth factor, call-in, result, bell ringing, whatever you want to call it. The one I get is actually from Amazon. It's this company right here. This bottle's about $17. It's super easy to make. I get my own sterile glass bottle, put about a 1/4 teaspoon of the powder in it. I put distilled water in it, and I also put about a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of organic vegetable glycerin. And it does take 4 hours to reconstitute. So don't think that you can make it and then immediately go into your treatment. It does take time to, get more jellified. I do not put a preservative in the product. The recipe, if you look it up, will tell you to, but what I do is I keep it in the fridge. And I replace this every 60 to 90 days. It just depends on what I'm feeling. I have multiple times left one of these in the fridge to see how long it took for the mold to start developing. And it was between 9 and 12 months. Both times I tried it. One time was 9, one time was 12. So I think we're pretty safe keeping it in the fridge at 2 to 3 months. So how I go to put it in the container is I always like to use a stainless steel for this. You can also use a disposable. But with the stainless steel, I always go in and clean out with isopropyl alcohol to sterilize the area. And the other bonus is because this is so insanely cheap to make, this isn't even 3 cents worth of product. Because of the blood situation, I don't want to be sparing with the serum in here because every time I run low and I need to get more, I have to take my gloves off, put the glide into the container, and then put a brand new pair of gloves on. So I would actually rather over put product on the tray than under, and then that way I'm not having to stop and change my gloves. So I'm gonna pour about this much into the container, actually, because Van with his beard, we don't need near as much. So I'm gonna start with this. The reason why you wanna use a high molecular weight hyaluronic acid is because lower molecular weight hyaluronic acids are going to create more inflammation in the tissues. So as many of you professionals know that there's all these different weights when it comes to hyaluronic acid. For example, sodium hyaluronate is considered a low molecular weight. The bonus with the low molecular weights is they can go into the tissues without there being any type of damage or breakage. You can put it on topically and it's gonna drop in. But the issue with the low weights is they do kick up inflammation. So when you've already needled and the skin's already angry, the glide you're using is actually contributing a little bit to your inflammatory issues. Whereas with the high molecular weights, they don't create near the inflammation issues. They're more basically bioavailable to your system. But because they're high molecular weight, the molecule's too big, it can only get into the skin when it's being needled in, put on a wound, things like that. So all the skincare you get over the counter is low molecular weight. We're going to go ahead and make our own high molecular weight and give the tissues what they want. All right, now I want to go ahead and put my needling tip onto my device. So what you want to do is go ahead and get the lot number on your needle tip that you're going to use and make sure you document it down in a chart. Okay. All right, before I put it into the device, I do want to take the tip off and I want to pop it up and make sure all the needles are straight. I don't have any crooked or bent needles. And you also want to look for any like fish hook needles. So my tip is good. I'm going to place the top back on and now I'm going to put it into my device. The type I have is a screw down. So I'm going to brace the gear tip. I'm going to drop it in and I'm going to crank it down pretty good. Then I'm going to twist it all the way down, make sure it's good and tight, and I'm going to release it so it's nice and free. And then I'm going to take my cord cover. A lot of people, when they go to put the cord cover on, this is the most common practice that I see, is that they put the cord cover on and they just take it up to this part of the device. I'll show you. So they put it in and they just stop here. The problem is that this is the hardest part of this pin to clean. It's disgusting. Like you have all these tiny little gears here, and this is where I'm literally taking my bloody gloves and twisting it around to change the depth. So this is disgusting right here. We do not want blood to touch it. You cannot put these in autoclaves because of the type of device that it is. So I had someone show me this once. This is just chef's kiss. You're going to take a piece of tape. Okay. You're going to take the cord cover, and it does work with the blue ones. I know most of you have the blue cord covers. I was able to find these clear ones on Amazon, but you can see through the blue ones. You want to take your cord cover and actually take it up to here on the tip, and you just kind of want to scrunch it around. You don't want to like try to be perfect with it. You don't want it to be, you don't want to wrap it like this, because what'll happen is it'll make it bulky over here, so you can't turn this, and then tight over here. So what you want to do is just kind of scrunch it, okay? So it's kind of pleated without it being fancy. And you want to take your tape and you're going to put it on the device and you're just going to walk it around, okay? And then that way you can go in here and change the gears. This is completely protected and sterilized and sanitary, and it's not gross at all. The other thing I then do is just twist the gear if this is the type of pin you have and make sure that it can freely move. Yep. All right, so on my tray, I have my device, I have my hyaluronic acid glide. I cut up some paper towels. When I go to remove the numbing, I wipe the numbing on these. I've got some Q-tips just in case, alcohol pads, rough 2x2s because you never know, also aesthetic wipes because maybe I want them, and some more sticks. Just remember that anything that is on this tray has to be thrown away. So don't just grab a huge handful of sticks and drop them on here, because anything that's on here you didn't use, you don't get to put back in your jar. This now is all going to be contaminated with blood technically. I'm also even going to put my aftercare products on here. So what I like to finish the client in is Relief by Cosmetics. This is loaded with lab-derived growth factors and peptides. It was intentionally created to be a post-care product. It's phenomenal. It creates like a film on the skin, like a liquid Band-Aid. I'm going to finish it off with a little bit of Rescue just to give some hydration. This is like 90 to 95% shea butter, and it also has healing copper peptides in it. So I'm going to put the Relief right on the tray. And then the Rescue Balm, and we're gonna get going. I also want to very heavily reiterate that you definitely want to do your own research in regards to the sterilization and the sanitation of your workspace and your practice. As a medical esthetician, one of the things that's not part of medical aesthetics is getting your bloodborne pathogen certification. And it's one of the things I heavily encourage everyone that does microneedling. Okay, I'm gonna start over.
A good message.
Yeah, I used to tell them this because they don't require, hello. Smart. Like I'm ripping hair out of your body. There's blood sometimes, and they don't make us do bloodborne pathogen. That's wild. Hello, everyone. I also want to heavily reiterate how important it is that you do your own research for your own space and your own practice in regards to bloodborne pathogen practices. As licensed estheticians, even to the medical level, there is still no bloodborne pathogen required for your licensing, but because we are definitely in a medical procedure that has blood, I heavily encourage everyone who chooses to get involved in microneedling that you do get online and get your bloodborne pathogen certification, just like all tattoo artists. The microneedling pen in its own way is basically like a tattoo gun or machine. And so therefore, because we are dealing with blood, you need to learn all the regulations about bloodborne pathogens to keep yourself safe and your clientele safe. I'm not liable for anything. So don't come for me, people.